The Poolside Scandal. Chapter 1. The city spreads beneath Aurora Heights like a sea of fallen stars, each light representing a life, a secret, a story yet to be told. From the 40th floor, the view transforms into something almost mythical, distance lending beauty to chaos, height offering the illusion of control. The infinity pool on this level captures that illusion perfectly, holding the city's reflection in water so still it might be glass. Mara Solis stands at the entrance to the pool deck, hesitating in a way that would surprise anyone who knows her public persona. The fashion designer built her reputation on bold choices and unapologetic confidence. Yet, tonight she feels the weight of recent events pressing against her carefully constructed armor. The launch of her latest collection brought success beyond measure. But success in Aurora Heights always comes with complications. The pool area stretches before her, empty at this late hour. Floor to ceiling, windows frame the night sky, while carefully positioned lighting creates pools of warm illumination against the darkness. The water itself seems to hold light rather than reflect it, glowing with an ethereal quality that makes the space feel suspended between earth and sky. She kicks off her sandals and approaches the edge. The marble beneath her feet holds the day's warmth, smooth and welcoming. This is why she comes here when sleep refuses her. The water quiets the endless cycle of thoughts that plague successful people. The constant calculation of next moves, potential threats, emerging opportunities. Mara has learned that visibility is both currency and liability in this tower. Every triumph invites scrutiny. Every relationship becomes strategic. Even her most private moments feel staged, as if invisible cameras catalog her choices for future judgment. The water accepts her body with barely a ripple. She submerges completely, letting liquid silence replace the constant noise of ambition and expectation. When she surfaces, slicking back her dark hair, she feels almost cleansed. Then she sees she is not alone. Isla Monroe sits at the far end of the pool, half hidden in shadows. The socialite's presence here surprises Mara. Isla typically avoids solitude, surrounding herself with admirers and friends, as if connection were oxygen. Yet, tonight she sits with her legs dangling in the water, staring at nothing with an expression that suggests she has forgotten anyone might see her. The two women acknowledge each other with brief nods, the kind of greeting that passes between acquaintances who respect boundaries. Mara considers leaving, granting them both the privacy they clearly sought. But something in Isla's posture, a vulnerability uncharacteristic of the polished woman she presents to the world, makes Mara pause. "I thought I'd be alone," Isla says, her voice carrying across the water without echoing. The acoustics of the space absorb sound as readily as the pool absorbs reflection. "So did I," Mara admits. She moves through the water with lazy strokes, not approaching, but not retreating either. "Want me to go?" Isla considers the question longer than politeness usually allows. No, she says finally. Company might be good, as long as it's quiet company. They share the space in silence for a time, each woman lost in thoughts she has no intention of voicing. Mara floats on her back, watching city lights dance across the ceiling. Isla remains at the edge, her fingers trailing patterns in the water. The peace cannot last. Aurora Heights does not permit peace to endure without complication. The sound of voices reaches them before the elevator doors open. Masculine laughter, feminine response, the particular pitch of conversation fueled by alcohol and attraction. Mara recognizes one of the voices immediately. She glances at Isla and sees recognition there as well, along with something harder to identify. Dread, perhaps, or resignation. Jaxon Raines enters the pool deck with his characteristic confidence, the kind earned through years of athletic achievement and social success. He moves like someone who has never questioned his welcome anywhere. The woman on his arm is young, beautiful in an obvious way, her dress strategically simple to showcase a body that requires no enhancement. The moment freezes as Jaxon registers Isla's presence. His companion continues talking, oblivious to the sudden tension. Mara watches from the water, suddenly understanding that she has stumbled into something far more complicated than a chance encounter. Isla, Jaxon says, his charm faltering for just an instant before reasserting itself. I didn't expect to see you here. Clearly, Isla's voice remains steady, but Mara hears the effort that steadiness costs. Don't let me interrupt your evening. The younger woman finally senses the atmosphere, looking between Jaxon and Isla with dawning comprehension. Should we go somewhere else? She suggests, her voice uncertain. No need, Isla says, standing with fluid grace. I was just leaving. Were you? Jackson's question carries an edge Mara cannot quite identify. Challenge, perhaps, or hope that Isla might stay and force a confrontation he lacks the courage to initiate himself. Isla gathers her belongings, a silk robe, expensive sandals, the small clutch she carries everywhere. Her movements are precise, controlled, performing normalcy for an audience that includes not just the people present, but the entire tower. News travels through Aurora Heights faster than light through fiber optics. Whatever happens here tonight will be reshaped, exaggerated, and distributed before sunrise. You don't have to run, Jaxon says. And now his tone shifts towards something that might be genuine concern if it were not so clearly performative. I'm not running, Isla replies. I'm making a choice. There's a difference. She moves toward the exit. And for a moment, it seems the encounter will end there, awkward but contained. The kind of social friction that occurs even in the most carefully curated environments. Then the younger woman speaks. Is this the ex you told me about? Her question carries no malice, just genuine curiosity. She does not yet understand how words can detonate. Isla stops walking, Mara sees her shoulders tense, watches the careful composure threaten to crack. The question hangs in the air like smoke before an alarm. He talks about you, the woman continues, apparently interpreting Isla's silence as invitation. He said you were special, but it just didn't work out. Special. Isla repeats the word as if tasting poison. She turns slowly, and Mara recognizes the expression she wears. It is the look of someone who has reached a limit, who has absorbed one humiliation too many and will no longer pretend otherwise. Is that what he told you? Isla's voice remains quiet, but something in its tone makes the other woman step back. That I was special, that it just didn't work out. Isla, don't, Jaxon says, but whether he means don't leave, don't speak, or don't reveal what I actually did remains unclear. Did he tell you why it didn't work out? Isla continues, addressing the younger woman, but watching Jaxon. Did he mention that special meant convenient? That it didn't work out because I found him with someone else in my own apartment? Did he share those particular details? The younger woman's face flushes. I should go. Yes, Isla agrees. You probably should. But the woman does not move, caught in the social paralysis that comes from witnessing intimacy turned weapon. Mara remains in the pool, suddenly invisible despite being present. This moment belongs to Isla and Jaxon, to whatever history they share, and whatever wreckage that history has created. You're being dramatic, Jaxon says, and Mara winces at his choice of words. Men who dismiss women's anger as drama rarely understand they are pouring gasoline on flame. Am I? Isla's laugh sounds nothing like amusement. I'm being dramatic. You brought another woman to our pool. It's not your pool, Isla. It's the building's pool. The interruption is strategic, meant to deflate her anger by correcting her possessiveness. Instead, it transforms her hurt into something colder and more dangerous. You're right, Isla says quietly. It's not my pool. Just like my apartment wasn't really mine when you had keys. Just like my trust wasn't really mine when you were sharing it with anyone who caught your attention. Nothing was ever really mine with you, was it? That's not fair. Fair, Isla's voice rises now, losing the controlled quietness that made her previous words so cutting. You want to discuss fair? Let's talk about fair, Jaxon. Let's talk about how I rearranged my life around your schedule. How I defended you to my friends when they said you weren't serious. How I believed you when you said I was different from the others. You were different, Jaxon insists. And Mara hears something that might be genuine regret in his voice. Unfortunately for him, regret is not the same as accountability. Different how? Isla demands. Different because you waited 3 months instead of 3 weeks before cheating. Different because you learned my favorite wine. Different because you almost convinced me I was enough. The younger woman finally finds her voice. I really think I should leave. Please do, Isla says without looking at her. And when he tells you you're special, when he makes you feel like you're the only person who understands him, remember this moment. Remember that I was special too, until I wasn't. The woman flees, her heels clicking rapidly across marble. The elevator doors close behind her with a soft chime that sounds obscenely cheerful. Jaxon and Isla face each other across the pool deck. Years of shared history and recent wounds creating a gulf neither seems able to cross. Mara considers surfacing, making her presence known, breaking the terrible privacy of their confrontation. But something keeps her still and silent in the water. I never meant to hurt you, Jaxon says. That might be the most honest thing you've ever said to me. Isla's anger drains away, leaving something worse behind: exhaustion. You never meant to hurt me. You just never meant not to, either. I was never important enough for your intentions to include my feelings. That's not true. Then what is true, Jaxon? Explain it to me, because I've spent months trying to understand. What was I to you? The question deserves an honest answer. Mara watches Jaxon struggle toward one, sees him try on different responses, and discard them as inadequate. The silence extends until it becomes its own answer. That's what I thought, Isla says softly. I was something that felt good until it required effort. Someone pleasant to have around until I wanted more than you felt like giving. I was special the way a favorite restaurant is special, easy to visit, hard to give up, but ultimately replaceable. Stop putting words in my mouth. Then use your own words. Tell me what I was to you. Tell me what any of us are to you besides entertainment. Jackson's jaw tightens. You knew what I was when we started. I never lied about my past. You're right. You told me about all the others. You wore your history like a badge, proving your desirability. What you didn't tell me was that I was just another name on a list that would keep growing after me. What did you want from me, Isla? Marriage, promises I wasn't ready to make. I wanted you to want to make them. Isla's voice breaks slightly, the first crack in her composure. I wanted to matter enough that fidelity felt like choice, not sacrifice. I wanted to be more than convenient. Something shifts in Jaxon's expression. For a moment, Mara thinks he might actually say something real, might break through his defensive charm to genuine honesty. Instead, he retreats into the safety of casual cruelty. Maybe you just wanted too much. The words land like a physical blow. Isla actually steps backward, as if struck. Mara sees her absorb the impact, watches her process pain, and convert it into something else. A transformation that happens so quickly, it seems almost chemical. You're absolutely right, Isla says, her voice steady again. I wanted too much. I wanted loyalty, honesty, basic respect. Clearly, I was asking for the impossible. She turns to leave for the second time, but Jaxon cannot let her have the last word. I did respect you, he calls after her. Isla pauses at the elevator. No, Jaxon, you liked me. You enjoyed me. You appreciated having me available when you wanted company. But you never respected me. People don't humiliate what they respect. The elevator doors open. Isla steps inside, then turns to face him one final time. I hope she is special, Isla says quietly. I hope you find someone who makes you want to be better instead of someone who accepts you as you are. Because as you are isn't actually very impressive. The doors close. Jaxon stands alone on the pool deck, his confident posture finally crumbling. He runs a hand through his hair, then kicks viciously at a lounge chair, sending it scraping across marble. Mara remains motionless in the pool, barely breathing. She has witnessed something she was never meant to see, not the argument itself, which will doubtless be transformed into gossip by morning, but the genuine hurt beneath it. Isla's pain, Jackson's inadequacy, the way two people can share space and time without ever truly meeting each other. Jaxon finally notices her, his eyes widening with something between embarrassment and anger. How long have you been there? He demands. Long enough, Mara says, swimming to the pool's edge. She pulls herself out with economical grace, water streaming from her body. Don't worry, I'm not interested in your drama. This isn't drama. This is, he stops, apparently unable to define what this is. This is consequences, Mara supplies. Something people like you usually avoid. You don't know anything about me. Mara wraps a towel around herself, meeting his eyes with steady assessment. I know you brought another woman to a place Isla considers significant. I know you did it deliberately. Whether you wanted to hurt her or prove something to yourself doesn't really matter. The result is the same. She's making too much of it. Is she? Or are you making too little of it because genuine emotion frightens you? Jackson's laugh sounds bitter. You think you're better than me. I've heard the stories about you, Mara. The married men, the calculated seductions, the relationships you end when they stop being useful. Mara does not flinch. The difference between us is that I'm honest about what I want and what I'm willing to give. I don't promise exclusivity I have no intention of delivering. I don't make people feel special while treating them as ordinary. Everyone in this building is a hypocrite, Jaxon says. We all pretend to be better than we are. True, Mara agrees. But some of us at least pretend to people who understand the game. Isla wasn't playing. She believed you. The accusation hits its mark. Jaxon turns away, staring at the city lights beyond the windows. I did care about her, he says quietly. I believe you, Mara says, and means it. But caring isn't enough if you're not willing to protect what you care about, especially not from yourself. She leaves him there, alone with the pool and his reflection, and the weight of words he cannot take back. The elevator ride down feels longer than usual, time enough for Mara to consider her own history, her own casualties, the people who might describe her the way Isla described Jaxon. The distinction she drew between herself and Jaxon feels thinner than she would like. Honesty about intentions only absolves so much. People still get hurt, even when they know the rules. Perhaps especially when they know the rules, but believe they might be the exception. Mara returns to her floor with more questions than she carried to the pool. Sleep seems even less likely now. Chapter 2. News spreads through Aurora Heights with the efficiency of a well-designed ventilation system, invisible, pervasive, impossible to contain. By morning, the poolside confrontation has become legend, shaped by each retelling into something simultaneously more dramatic and less true than what actually occurred. In the private gym, two women pause their conversation as Isla enters. Their sudden silence speaks louder than words. Isla maintains her composure, greeting them with polite neutrality before claiming a treadmill on the far side of the room. She runs until her legs burn and her lungs ache, chasing physical exhaustion as an antidote to emotional turmoil. The whispers follow her everywhere. In the elevator, conversations die when she steps inside. In the lobby, eyes track her movement with the hungry interest people reserve for others' misfortunes. Even the staff treat her differently, more carefully, as if scandal might be contagious. Only Elias Gray, the concierge, maintains his usual demeanor. When Isla stops at his desk to collect a package, he greets her with the same courtesy he extends to everyone, neither overwarm nor artificially distant. "Good morning, Miss Monroe," he says, producing a box wrapped in designer packaging. "This arrived for you yesterday evening." "Thank you, Elias." Isla takes the package, grateful for his normalcy. "I trust you're finding everything satisfactory with your residence." The question is standard, something he asks all residents periodically. But his timing suggests awareness of recent events, and Isla appreciates that he addresses her comfort rather than her scandal. "Everything is fine," she assures him. "Excellent. Please let me know if there's anything you need." His eyes meet hers briefly, and Isla sees something she did not expect: understanding without pity, acknowledgement without judgment. "Actually," Isla hears herself say, "is there somewhere quiet in the building? Somewhere people don't usually go?" Elias considers the question with the seriousness it deserves. The observation deck on floor 58 is rarely used during weekday afternoons. Most residents prefer the pool or rooftop garden. The view is less dramatic, but the privacy is reliable. "Thank you, of course, and Miss Monroe." He lowers his voice slightly. Buildings like this have short memories for the wrong reasons and long memories for the right ones. What people whisper about this week will be replaced by next week's entertainment. What you do with your dignity lasts considerably longer. The observation surprises her into genuine gratitude. "That's kind of you to say." "Not kind, merely true." He returns his attention to his computer screen, granting her the gift of casual dismissal rather than continued attention. Isla carries his words with her throughout the day. They provide unexpected comfort, a reminder that reputation and character are not the same thing, that surviving gossip requires neither retreat nor explanation. That afternoon, she takes Elia's advice and visits floor 58. The observation deck proves exactly as described, a windowed room with comfortable seating and a northern view less spectacular than the pool's panoramic perspective. The space is empty, quiet, precisely what she needed. She settles into a chair near the windows, watching the city go about its business far below. From this height, individual lives blur into patterns. Traffic flows like blood through arteries. People become abstract representations of purpose and movement. The distance offers perspective that ground level denies. I thought I might find you here. Isla turns to find Serena Cho standing in the doorway. The art curator holds 2 cups of tea, her expression suggesting neither pity nor curiosity, just calm presence. Elias told you, Isla asks. He mentioned you might appreciate company. I took the liberty of assuming tea wouldn't be unwelcome. Serena enters without waiting for explicit invitation, moving with the confidence of someone who understands that sometimes the kindest thing is to refuse someone the option of solitude. She hands 1 cup to Isla and settles into an adjacent chair. For several minutes, they sit in silence, drinking tea and watching the city. I'm not going to ask if you're all right, Serena says eventually. The question is both obvious and useless. Thank you, Isla says, meaning it. I am going to tell you that I once had a very public ending with someone I cared about deeply. People talked for weeks. Some of them are probably still talking, though I've stopped listening. Isla looks at her with surprise. Serena's life appears meticulously curated, her relationships discreet to the point of invisibility. The idea of her surviving scandal seems incompatible with the composed woman before her. What did you do? Isla asks. I waited. I maintained my routines. I refused to hide or apologize or explain myself to people whose opinions held no actual importance. Eventually, someone else provided newer entertainment, and I was free to continue my life. That sounds impossibly difficult. It was, Serena agrees, but less difficult than the alternatives. I could have left the building, started over somewhere else. I could have confronted everyone who whispered, demanded they mind their business. I could have retreated completely, become invisible. All of those options gave other people power over my choices. I decided I preferred to keep that power for myself. Isla absorbs this, turning the words over in her mind. You make it sound strategic rather than emotional. Surviving Aurora Heights requires both strategy and emotion. The mistake people make is believing they must choose between them. The truth is that feelings inform strategy, and strategy protects feelings. Neither works in isolation. Is that how you approach everything? As a balance between what you feel and what serves you? Serena smiles slightly. I approach most things as a curator approaches a collection. What deserves prominence? What provides context? What needs to be stored away for future consideration? Not everything requires immediate display. The metaphor resonates with Isla. She has spent her life on display, performing the role of gracious socialite, allowing others to interpret her as decoration rather than substance. Perhaps curation, rather than performance, might offer a different kind of power. I spent the morning angry at Jaxon, Isla admits, for bringing that woman there, for dismissing my feelings, for making me look foolish. And now I'm angry at myself, for giving him the power to make me look foolish, for believing charm was the same as character, for thinking I could matter to someone who treats people as interchangeable. That's progress, Serena says. Anger at yourself is more useful than anger at him. You can actually do something about your own choices. Like what? Like deciding what you want rather than what you think you should want. Like learning to recognize the difference between someone who sees you and someone who sees an idea of you. Like understanding that being underestimated is sometimes strategic advantage. Isla considers this. People underestimate me constantly. I've always hated it. Have you? Or have you hated what you thought it meant about you? Serena leans forward slightly, her expression intent. People underestimate me too. They see elegant clothes and careful words and assume I'm all surface. What they don't see is how much I observe while they're not paying attention. How much I learn while they're dismissing me. You're saying I should use it. I'm saying you already have power. You've just been performing powerlessness so successfully that you've started to believe your own performance. The words strike something deep in Isla's understanding of herself. How much of her sweetness is genuine nature, and how much is learned behavior designed to please? How much of her softness is kindness, and how much is fear of taking up too much space? What if I don't know who I am without the performance? Isla asks quietly. Then you have the opportunity to find out. Most people never get that chance. They perform the same role until they die, never questioning whether it actually fits. They sit in comfortable silence, finishing their tea as afternoon light shifts across the city. Isla feels something settle in her chest, not peace exactly, but a kind of resolution. The Poolside Scandal happened. People are talking. Jaxon showed her exactly who he is. None of that changes unless she decides what it means. Thank you for finding me, Isla says. Thank you for letting me stay. Serena stands, collecting both empty cups. I should return to the gallery. But Isla, yes, whatever you decide to do next, make sure it's for yourself. Not to prove anything to Jaxon, not to satisfy the people watching, not to meet anyone else's expectations. Just for yourself. After Serena leaves, Isla remains in the observation deck as afternoon becomes evening. The city lights begin their nightly performance, transforming the skyline into something magical and artificial at once. She thinks about Jaxon, about the months they spent together, about the person she became in his presence. She remembers diminishing herself, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, pretending not to notice when his attention wandered. She recalls making herself convenient, available, understanding all the qualities that should have deepened connection, but instead invited neglect. For the first time, Isla allows herself to feel angry not at being hurt, but at having participated in her own diminishment. Jaxon did not make her small. She made herself small, hoping that taking up less space would make him want to keep her close. The realization brings tears, but also something like relief. If she made herself small, she can choose differently. If she performed powerlessness, she can learn a different role. Her phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. I hope you're managing the aftermath. You deserve better than you received. SC. Isla smiles. Serena's discretion extends even to text messages, offering support without requiring response. The gesture feels typical of the curator's approach, present, but not intrusive, caring, but not possessive. Another message arrives, this one from Mara. Drinks tonight if you need to escape the building. No judgment, no questions, just company if you want it. Isla has always admired Mara from a distance, impressed by her bold self-possession, but assuming they had nothing in common. The offer surprises her, particularly from someone who witnessed her humiliation. She types a response. Thank you, rain check. I'm not ready for public yet. Mara replies immediately. Understood. Offer stands whenever you are. The kindness of near strangers moves Isla more than expected. She has spent years cultivating friendships with people who know her socially, but not personally, maintaining connections that look substantial but feel hollow. These brief gestures from women who owe her nothing carry more weight than months of shallow companionship. As night settles over the city, Isla makes a decision. She will not leave Aurora Heights. She will not hide or apologize or pretend the poolside confrontation did not happen. She will also not perform recovery for an audience or rush to prove she is unaffected. She will simply continue her life with modifications. She will stop making herself convenient for people who treat convenience as disposability. She will stop confusing attention with affection, charm with character, desire with care. Most importantly, she will stop believing that being underestimated means being powerless. Chapter 3. 3 days after the poolside incident, Aurora Heights hosts its monthly residents' gathering. The events are elaborate affairs held in the tower's private event space, a room of soaring ceilings and floor-to-ceiling windows designed to showcase both the building's architecture and its inhabitants' status. Attendance is technically optional, but practically mandatory. Absence from these gatherings is noted, discussed, interpreted as everything from snobbery to shame. The Van Saren family hosts with practiced grace, transforming what could be mere socializing into careful brand management. Isla debates skipping. The thought of facing curious eyes and careful questions exhausts her. But Serena's words echo in her mind. People underestimate those who perform powerlessness. Absence would look like retreat, and retreat would confirm whatever narrative the gossips have constructed. She chooses her outfit with deliberate care, a dress that manages to be both elegant and understated, beautiful without trying too hard. Her makeup emphasizes natural features rather than creating dramatic transformation. She wants to look like herself, only more so. Polished, but not performing. The event space is already crowded when she arrives. Conversation fills the room with the particular sound of people who are used to being listened to, all talking simultaneously. Servers circulate with champagne and small plates of food designed to look impressive while being easy to eat standing up. Isla accepts a glass of champagne and positions herself near one of the windows, maintaining a pleasant expression that neither invites approach nor suggests isolation. Several people glance her way, some with open curiosity, others with the studied casualness that indicates they are definitely not starring. "You look beautiful." Isla turns to find Victor Van Saren beside her. The building's heir apparent is objectively handsome, with the kind of confidence that comes from never doubting you're welcome anywhere. His attention has always been peripheral to Isla. He flirts with everyone, but the flirtation feels more like exercise than genuine interest. "Thank you," she says neutrally. "I'm glad you came tonight. I worried the recent unpleasantness might keep you away." Recent unpleasantness. The phrase transforms her public humiliation into something that might be a delayed package or a plumbing issue. Isla cannot tell if the minimization is thoughtful or dismissive. "I live here," she says simply. "Why would I avoid my own building's gathering?" Victor's smile acknowledges the mild rebuke. "Fair point. Still, not everyone would have your composure. People are talking, and not everyone handles attention well. People are always talking. If I let that determine my choices, I'd never leave my apartment." True enough. Victor sips his champagne, his eyes scanning the room with the practiced assessment of someone who considers every social gathering a form of inventory. "For what it's worth, I think Raines behaved poorly. You deserved better." The observation surprises Isla. Victor and Jaxon run in similar circles, share similar worldviews about women and relationships, and the interchangeable nature of both. Hearing Victor criticize his friend's behavior feels suspicious, as if she is being set up for a punchline she cannot yet see. "I appreciate that," she says carefully. "I mean it." Victor's tone shifts, becoming something that sounds almost genuine. "I know what people think of me. The entitled heir, the careless playboy, the man who treats relationships as entertainment. Some of that reputation is deserved, but I've never claimed to be something I'm not. Jaxon sold you a fantasy while living a different reality. That's crueler than simple honesty. Isla studies him, trying to determine if this unexpected insight represents actual growth or sophisticated manipulation. With men like Victor, the line between sincerity and strategy often blurs beyond recognition. "Why are you telling me this?" she asks. "Because you seem like someone who might benefit from perspective." Victor gestures around the room. Everyone here performs a role. The key is knowing which roles are chosen and which are assigned. You've been performing the role people assigned you, the sweet socialite, the romantic optimist, the woman who believes in fairy tales. Maybe it's time to choose your own role. The echo of Serena's advice is uncanny. Isla wonders if the two have spoken, if this conversation represents coordination or coincidence. "And what role do you suggest?" she asks. "Whatever serves you." The wronged woman seeking revenge, the resilient survivor moving forward, the mysterious figure who refuses to explain herself. All of those are available. The question is which one you actually want to play. Before Isla can respond, Jaxon enters the event space. His arrival creates a ripple of awareness, people nodding his presence and watching to see how Isla will react. He is not alone. The young woman from the pool accompanies him, looking uncertain but determined. Isla feels her composure threaten to crack. The champagne in her hand suddenly seems like a mistake, alcohol, compromising the careful control she needs to navigate this moment. Every eye in the room tracks between her and Jaxon, waiting for drama, hopping for confrontation. Victor notices the shift in her posture. "You could leave," he suggests quietly. "No one would blame you." "Everyone would blame me," Isla corrects. "Or pity me, which is worse." "Then stay. But stay on your own terms." Victor takes her empty champagne flute and replaces it with a glass of water from a passing server. "Hydrate. Breathe. Remember that their expectations are not your responsibility." The casual kindness surprises her. Victor Van Saren, champion of entitlement and casual cruelty, offering support without apparent ulterior motive. Isla accepts the water, grateful for something to do with her hands. Jaxon sees her. Their eyes meet across the room, and Isla watches him make a decision. He murmurs something to his companion and begins crossing the space toward Isla. People shift to create a path, their interest now completely undisguised. "Here we go," Victor murmurs. "Remember, you control this conversation, not him." Jaxon reaches them, his expression attempting casualness and achieving awkwardness. "Isla, Victor." He nods to each of them, his eyes lingering on Isla. "Can we talk?" "We're already talking," Isla points out. Privately, Jaxon clarifies. "I'm not sure that's necessary." "Please." The word sounds foreign in Jackson's mouth, as if he rarely uses it and is not entirely sure of its pronunciation. 5 minutes. Isla considers refusing. She could turn away dismiss him publicly, give the watching crowd the spectacle they crave. The thought tempts her, but Serena's words return. What serves you? Public confrontation serves the audience, not herself. 5 minutes, she agrees. To Victor, she adds, don't let anyone take my spot by the window. Wouldn't dream of it, Victor assures her. Jaxon leads her to a quieter corner of the event space, partially shielded from the main room by an architectural column. Privacy is relative. People can still see them, but conversation requires effort to overhear. Thank you for agreeing to talk, Jaxon begins. You have 4 minutes and 30 seconds. The time limit visibly throws him. Jaxon is accustomed to conversations that meander, to charm filling space, while he decides what he actually wants to say. Being rushed disrupts his usual approach. I wanted to apologize, he says, for the other night, for bringing someone to the pool when I knew you might be there, for saying you wanted too much. That was cruel. It was honest, Isla corrects. Maybe not kind, but honest. You believe I wanted too much because you wanted to give very little. That's not fair. 4 minutes. Jaxon grimaces. I cared about you. I still care about you. What we had was real. What we had was one-sided. I cared about you. You cared about how I made you feel. Those are not the same thing. You're reducing everything to make me the villain. I'm clarifying everything to stop making myself the victim. There's a difference. Isla surprises herself with the steady strength in her voice. You didn't ruin my life, Jaxon. You revealed something about how I was living it. That's actually valuable, even if it was painful. So you're thanking me. Sarcasm edges his tone, defensiveness masquerading as humor. I'm releasing you, Isla says, from my expectations, my hurt, my need for you to be different than you are. You showed me exactly who you are. I'm choosing to believe you. And who am I, according to you? Someone charming and shallow, who mistakes attention for affection and chemistry for compatibility. Someone who takes what's offered without considering what it costs the person offering it. Someone who will probably repeat these same patterns until you're too old to get away with it, at which point you'll be bitter and confused about why charm alone isn't enough anymore. The assessment lands brutally. Jaxon's expression cycles through anger, denial, and something that might be genuine hurt before settling on defensive mockery. You think you're better than me now because you got your heart broken and decided to play the wise survivor. I think I'm learning from my mistakes. What you do with yours is your own business. Isla checks an imaginary watch. 3 minutes. This is ridiculous. Then leave. I gave you 5 minutes because you asked for them, not because I need closure or explanation or apology. This conversation serves you, not me. I'm just being polite. Jaxon stares at her as if seeing someone he does not recognize. Perhaps he is. Isla barely recognizes herself, this calm, clear woman who refuses to absorb his discomfort or manage his feelings. I did care about you, he says again, quieter now. I believe you cared as much as you're capable of caring. That's the problem, Jaxon. Your capacity doesn't meet my needs. Neither of us can change that reality. So that's it. We just end. We ended when you chose someone else. This is just acknowledgement. Silence stretches between them, heavy with finality. Isla waits, refusing to fill the space with reassurance or softness. This is Jackson's discomfort to manage, not hers to relieve. I hope you find what you're looking for, Jaxon says finally. I hope you figure out what you're looking for, Isla counters. Because I'm not sure you actually know. She walks away before he can respond, returning to her spot by the window where Victor waits with theatrical patience. That looked intense, Victor observes. That was necessary, Isla corrects. She accepts a fresh glass of water, her hands steady despite her racing heart. And finished. Across the room, Jaxon rejoins his companion. They leave shortly after, his departure noted and catalogued by the crowd. Isla watches them go without emotion, feeling lighter than she has in months. The rest of the evening passes without drama. People approach Isla with varying levels of curiosity and sympathy, fishing for details or offering support. She accepts both graciously without providing the information they seek. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. Their interpretations are not her concern. Near the end of the evening, Mara appears at her side. The designer looks striking in red silk, commanding attention without apparent effort. You survived, Mara observes. I did more than survive. I showed up on my own terms. That's the only way to survive anything that matters. Mara pauses, then adds, I'm having a small gathering next week. Actual friends, not networking. Good wine, better conversation, no performance required. You're welcome to join us. The invitation touches Isla. I'd like that. Good, I'll send details. Mara starts to leave, then turns back. That thing you did tonight, showing up, facing the whispers, handling Jaxon with dignity, that took courage. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. After Mara leaves, Isla remains by the window as the gathering winds down. The city spreads beneath her, infinite and indifferent, containing millions of stories that have nothing to do with her own drama. The thought comforts rather than diminishes her. She is one person among millions, her heartbreak and recovery neither unique nor insignificant. Serena appears as the last guests depart. How are you feeling? Exhausted, Isla admits. But good. Like I passed some kind of test I didn't know I was taking. The best tests are the ones we give ourselves. Serena hands her a small card. My personal number. Not for emergency, just for conversation when you need it. Isla tucks the card carefully into her clutch. Thank you for the tea, the advice, the support. You didn't have to do any of that. I wanted to. Besides, I see potential in you. The same way I see potential in art that hasn't found its proper context yet. Serena's smile carries warmth Isla has rarely seen from her. You're going to be fine, Isla. Better than fine, once you stop believing other people's assessments of your worth. Alone in the elevator heading back to her floor, Isla studies her reflection in the polished doors. She looks the same as she did hours ago, but something fundamental has shifted. Not healed completely. Healing takes longer than a single evening, but changed, stronger, more herself. The Poolside Scandal has not disappeared. People are still talking, still reshaping the story to suit their entertainment needs. But Isla no longer feels defined by their narratives. Let them talk. Let them speculate about her heartbreak, her resilience, her next move. She knows something they do not. The story they are telling about her and the story she is living have begun to diverge. Their version ends with humiliation and recovery. Her version is just beginning. Chapter 4. The week following the residents' gathering passes with strange normalcy. Isla maintains her routines, gym sessions, social commitments, ordinary life, but performs them differently. She notices how often she used to diminish herself in conversation, agreeing with opinions she did not share, laughing at things that were not funny, performing enthusiasm she did not feel. Now she practices a different approach. When asked her opinion, she shares it honestly rather than testing which response might be most pleasing. When conversation does not interest her, she excuses herself rather than pretending engagement. Small changes, but they accumulate into something larger. A reclamation of space and voice and preference. The observation deck on floor 58 becomes her refuge. Elia's recommendation proved valuable. The space remains consistently empty during afternoon hours, offering privacy without isolation. Isla brings books she actually wants to read rather than books that look impressive, drinks tea she enjoys rather than champagne expected at her social tier. Serena visits occasionally, their conversations ranging from art to relationships to the architecture of identity. The curator possesses a gift for asking questions that unlock understanding, approaching personal growth with the same precision she applies to exhibitions. You're different, Serena observes during one of these visits. Calmer, more grounded. I'm paying attention, Isla explains. To myself, instead of to everyone else's expectations. It's harder than I anticipated. It's always harder. We've spent our entire lives learning to read other people's needs and preferences. Turning that attention inward requires practice. Did you have to learn it too? Serena's smile carries memory. I spent my 20s convinced that being desirable meant becoming whatever the person I wanted believed desirable to be. I was very good at it. Different personalities for different audiences, all of them authentic enough to be convincing. None of them actually me. What changed? I fell in love with someone who saw through the performance. They were kind about it, but firm. They told me they wanted to know the real me, not the version I thought they wanted. Serena pauses, her expression distant. The problem was, I had performed for so long that I no longer knew which version was real. That realization broke something open in me. What did you do? I spent a year alone. No dating, no performing, just observation. I watched how I responded to things when no one was watching. What I chose when choice was private rather than public. What opinions formed when I did not have to defend or explain them. Slowly, I started to recognize myself. Isla absorbs this, seeing parallels to her own experience. Was it lonely? Terribly. But less lonely than being surrounded by people who only knew the versions of me I invented for them. Serena meets Isla's eyes. You're doing the work faster than I did. You have good instincts about what serves you and what diminishes you. Trust them. That evening, Isla attends Mara's gathering. The designer's apartment is exactly what Isla expected: bold colors, dramatic art, furniture that prioritizes beauty over comfort. But the atmosphere is warm, welcoming, refreshingly free of the performative quality that characterizes most social events in Aurora Heights. 6 women gather in Mara's living room, ranging from early 20s to late 40s. Isla recognizes 2 of them, residents of the building she has seen, but never properly met. The others are apparently friends from outside Aurora Heights, bringing perspective unburdened by the tower's particular social dynamics. Welcome, Mara says, handing Isla a glass of wine that is actually good rather than merely expensive. Only rule tonight is honesty. No networking, no performing, no pretending to be fine if you're not. The conversation flows naturally, women sharing stories of romantic disasters, professional triumphs, personal revelations. Laughter comes easily, along with occasional tears and frequent profanity. Isla finds herself relaxing in ways she rarely does at social gatherings, speaking without filtering every word through calculations of how it will be received. During a lull in conversation, one of the younger women asks Isla directly, "Are you the one who had the pool incident with Jaxon Raines?" The question would have mortified Isla a week ago. Now she meets it with calm acknowledgement. I am. That must have been awful. It was, also clarifying. Sometimes awful and valuable coincide. Did you love him? Another woman asks. Isla considers the question seriously. I loved who I thought he could be. I loved the potential I saw in him. I'm not sure I loved who he actually was, because he never really showed me that person. Men are so good at that, Mara observes, showing us their potential instead of their reality. We fall in love with the preview instead of demanding the full film. Women do it too, Serena adds. She arrived shortly after Isla, slipping into the gathering as if she had always belonged. We perform potential, presenting our best selves during courtship, and hoping the real self will be acceptable once they are invested. Is anyone actually themselves in relationships? The youngest woman asks. Or is it all just performance until someone gets comfortable enough to disappoint the other person? The question sparks debate. Some argue that all relationships involve performance, that the key is finding someone whose preferred performance aligns with your natural inclinations. Others insist that authentic connection requires vulnerability, presenting actual self rather than curated version. Isla listens more than she speaks, learning from the variety of perspectives. These women have loved and lost, compromised and stood firm, chosen themselves and chosen others. Their experiences range widely, but certain themes emerge. The difficulty of maintaining identity within partnership, the courage required for honest communication, the grief of realizing you have diminished yourself for someone who did not ask you to. I think the question is not whether we perform, Isla says eventually, but whether we are aware we are performing. Jaxon performed without seeming to know it. He genuinely believed his charm was authenticity. His selective honesty was vulnerability. I performed deliberately, showing him softness and understanding, because I thought that was what he wanted. We were both pretending, but only I knew it. That's worse somehow, Mara says. Being aware of your own performance while believing someone else's. It felt worse at the time. Now I am grateful for it. At least I know I am capable of choice, even if I was making the wrong choices. Jaxon might never realize he has options beyond his default patterns. The conversation continues late into the night, wine flowing and inhibitions lowering as comfort deepens. Isla finds herself sharing things she has never voiced aloud, her fear of being difficult, her assumption that her worth came from pleasing others, her struggle to distinguish between genuine sweetness and performed palatability. The women listen without judgment, offering perspective without prescription. No one tries to fix her or tell her what to do. They simply bear witness to her process, offering their own stories as context rather than instruction. Near midnight, as the gathering winds down, Mara pulls Isla aside. "I am glad you came tonight," the designer says. "Thank you for including me. I needed this more than I knew. We all need it. This building can be isolating despite being full of people. Everyone performing, everyone protecting their image, everyone afraid that genuine connection might be used against them." Mara pauses. "I started these gatherings because I was lonely in a room full of admirers. Turns out a lot of women feel that way. Does it get easier?" Isla asks. "Knowing yourself, trusting yourself, being yourself. Not easier, more natural. Like any skill, it requires practice. But eventually, you spend less energy maintaining performance and more energy actually living." Isla returns to her apartment, feeling lighter than she has in months. The Poolside Scandal has not disappeared. She knows people still talk, still speculate about her heartbreak and recovery. But their narratives no longer feel like chains. Let them tell whatever story suits them. She is discovering her own story, one that has nothing to do with their entertainment. That night, she dreams of the pool. In the dream, water is perfectly still, reflecting not the city, but the night sky. Stars multiply in the water until she cannot tell which are real and which are reflection. She floats between them, suspended in a space where up and down lose meaning. When she wakes, the dream's feeling lingers, not peace exactly, but possibility. The sense that she contains depths she has not yet explored, that the surface everyone sees is not the entire story. Chapter 5. 2 weeks after the poolside confrontation, Isla receives an unexpected visitor. She returns from an afternoon at the observation deck to find Elias waiting outside her apartment door. "Miss Monroe," he greets her with his usual courtesy. "I apologize for the intrusion. You have a visitor who asked me to announce them personally rather than calling up." Isla's heart quickens, wondering if Jaxon has decided to attempt another conversation. "Who is it?" "A Miss Sophie Monroe. She indicated she is your sister." Surprise stops Isla mid-step. Her younger sister, Sophie, lives across the country, pursuing a graduate degree and maintaining minimal contact with family. They exchange occasional texts and obligatory holiday calls, but their relationship has grown distant over the years, divided by different choices and mutual incomprehension. "Did she say what she wants?" "Only that she hoped to speak with you. I can tell her you are unavailable if you prefer." Isla considers the option. She is not prepared for family, for the particular judgment her sister carries, for questions about her life and choices. But curiosity wins over caution. "No, send her up. Thank you, Elias." "Of course." He pauses. For what it is worth, she seems genuinely concerned rather than critical. The observation surprises Isla. Elias rarely offers personal assessments, maintaining professional distance from residents' dramas. That he breaks that pattern suggests something significant. Sophie arrives minutes later, looking simultaneously familiar and foreign. She has cut her hair short, dyed it an unconventional shade of purple, and developed a style that announces she has stopped caring what people think. The transformation is startling. The last time Isla saw her sister, Sophie was still performing the role of dutiful daughter, wearing cardigans and pearl earrings to family dinners. "Hi," Sophie says, hovering in the doorway as if uncertain of her welcome. "Hi," Isla echoes. She steps aside. "Come in." Sophie enters cautiously, taking in the apartment with wide eyes. Isla sees her home through her sister's perspective, the expensive furniture, the designer accents, the floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city. Evidence of success, purchased through performance. "This is beautiful," Sophie says. "Thank you. Can I get you something?" "Water, wine." "Water is good." They settle in the living room, awkwardness thick between them. Isla cannot remember the last time they were alone together, just the two of them, without family buffer or obligation structure. "I'm surprised to see you," Isla says finally. "You didn't mention visiting." I didn't plan it. I saw something online about an incident at your building. People were sharing it, making it into entertainment. Sophie's expression hardens. I wanted to make sure you were okay. The explanation catches Isla off guard. She and Sophie have never been the kind of sisters who check on each other, who offer support beyond obligatory birthday wishes. I'm okay, Isla says. It was humiliating, but I survived. You shouldn't have to just survive. That guy was a jerk, and everyone watching was worse. Sophie's anger on her behalf is unexpected and touching. I wanted to punch all of them through my screen. Despite herself, Isla smiles. I appreciate the sentiment. I'm serious. You've spent your whole life being perfect, doing everything right, making everyone happy. And they turned your heartbreak into gossip. It made me so angry. I've spent my whole life being perfect. Isla repeats. Sophie, you have a doctorate in progress. You have actual accomplishments. I have a nice apartment and a reputation for being pleasant. You think I'm accomplished? Sophie looks genuinely surprised. Isla, you're the successful one. You live in Aurora Heights. You know important people. Mom brags about you constantly. Mom brags about you constantly to me. Your research, your publications, your brilliant future. The sisters stare at each other. Mutual misunderstanding, suddenly visible. All these years, they have been envying different versions of success, each believing the other achieved something more valuable. I think we have been seeing each other through Mom's lens instead of our own, Isla says slowly. Probably, Sophie grimaces. Mom has opinions about everything and makes them feel like facts. When did you stop listening to them? About a year ago. I was miserable trying to be the brilliant academic she wanted. I was dating someone terrible because they looked good on paper. I was wearing clothes I hated, expressing opinions I did not hold, performing a life that felt nothing like mine. Sophie runs a hand through her purple hair. Finally, I just broke. Cut my hair, ended the relationship, stopped answering calls where Mom just criticized my choices. It was terrifying, and the best thing I ever did. Isla recognizes the story as a version of her own. How did you know which opinions were actually yours? I started small. What did I want for breakfast when no one else was watching? What music did I actually like versus what I thought I should like? What made me laugh without worrying whether my laugh was attractive? Sophie smiles. Turns out I like terrible pop music. I find inappropriate things hilarious. And I hate breakfast food. You hate breakfast food. All of it. Eggs, pancakes, cereal disgusting. I eat leftover dinner or nothing. But I spent years forcing down toast because that was what people ate for breakfast. The absurdity of it strikes them both simultaneously. They laugh, really laugh, for the first time in years. I've been doing that with everything, Isla admits. Performing preferences I thought made me acceptable. I don't even know what I actually like anymore. Then figure it out. You have time, money, freedom. Use them. It is not that simple. It is exactly that simple. Not easy, but simple. Sophie leans forward. Isla, you are allowed to be more than pleasant. You are allowed to have sharp edges, strong opinions, days where you are not gracious. Being complex does not make you difficult. It makes you human. Mom would disagree. Mom has spent her entire life performing perfect wife, perfect mother, perfect socialite. She is miserable, Isla. I love her, but I do not want to become her. I do not think you do either. The observation lands with uncomfortable accuracy. Isla has modeled herself after their mother without questioning whether that model served her. Being pleasant opened doors, garnered approval, made her welcome in spaces that valued charm over substance. But what has it cost? I've been thinking about some things differently, Isla says carefully. About what I want versus what I think I should want. About who I am versus who I perform being. That's good, that's progress. It is also exhausting. Every interaction requires thought now. I question whether my reactions are genuine or habitual. I second guess my preferences. I do not know what is authentic and what is performance anymore. Sophie nods with understanding. I went through that too. It passes. Eventually, you stop questioning every single thing and start trusting your instincts again. Different instincts, but more reliable. They talk for hours, sharing stories from childhoods they experienced differently, unpacking family dynamics with adult perspective, comparing notes on the weight of expectations and the freedom of disappointing them. Isla learns that Sophie is seeing someone, a woman whose academic work focuses on queer theory, who makes Sophie laugh and does not require her to be anything beyond herself. Are you happy? Isla asks. I'm figuring out what happiness means for me, Sophie says. It is less about constant joy and more about alignment. When what I want, what I do, and who I am with all point in the same direction, I feel right. That is better than happy. After Sophie leaves, Isla sits in her quiet apartment, processing the visit. Her sister traveled across the country to check on her, offering support Isla did not know she needed. The gesture shifts something in her understanding of connection. Not all relationships require constant maintenance to remain real. Some bonds persist through distance and difference, waiting to be activated when they are truly needed. She texts Sophie, "Thank you for coming. I did not realize how much I needed to see you." The response comes quickly. "I did not realize how much I needed to see you either. We should do this more often." The actual honest conversation part, not the crossing the country part. Isla smiles. Agreed, come back anytime. That night, she makes a list of preferences she has performed versus preferences she might actually hold. The process proves harder than expected. She has spent so long being what situations required that her inclinations inclinations are buried under layers of learned behavior. But she starts with what she knows. She likes tea more than champagne. She prefers quiet evenings to loud parties. She finds classical music boring, despite claiming to appreciate appreciate it. She would rather read alone than attend most social events. Small truths, but hers, a beginning. Chapter 6. The final residence gathering of the season is announced with the usual understated elegance. Embossed invitations delivered to each apartment. Details promising an evening of exceptional food, carefully curated music, and opportunity to connect with fellow residents. The event will be held on the rooftop garden, Aurora Heights' crown jewel, a space of impossible beauty hovering 60 stories above the city. Isla debates attending. The season's first gathering tested her resilience. This one feels less necessary, more optional. But Serena mentions she will be there, and Mara sends a text saying the gathering might be worth attending for reasons you will understand when you arrive. The cryptic promise intrigues Isla enough to commit. She chooses an outfit that reflects her evolving sense of self, elegant, but comfortable, beautiful, without trying too hard. The dress is a deep blue that complements her coloring without demanding attention. She wears minimal jewelry, her hair styled simply. Looking at her reflection, Isla sees someone she recognizes more fully than she has in years. The rooftop garden is spectacular at sunset. String lights weave through carefully maintained greenery, creating warm pools of illumination against the darkening sky. The space manages to feel both sophisticated and intimate, large enough to accommodate dozens of people, yet designed with quiet corners for private conversation. Isla arrives to find the party already underway. She accepts a glass of wine from a server and positions herself near one of the garden's edges, watching the city transition from day to night. The view never fails to move her, evidence of millions of lives unfolding simultaneously, each person the center of their own story. "You came," Mara says, appearing at her side. The designer wears gold silk that catches light with every movement, her confidence undimmed by the crowd. "You suggested I should." "I did, for purely selfish reasons. I wanted friendly faces in the crowd. But also because something interesting is going to happen, and I thought you might appreciate witnessing it." Before Isla can ask what she means, Mara's attention shifts. Following her gaze, Isla sees Jaxon arrive with yet another woman, his pattern apparently unbroken. But this time, something is different. The woman on his arm is not young or dazzled. She is elegant, self-possessed, and watching Jaxon with the kind of amused tolerance usually reserved for entertaining children. "Who is that?" Isla asks. "Catherine Winters. She runs a venture capital firm and has a reputation for brilliant investments and zero patience for nonsense. I have no idea what she is doing with Jaxon, but I suspect she is going to educate him in ways he did not anticipate." The prediction proves accurate. Isla watches as Jaxon attempts his usual charm, only to have Catherine respond with polite but firm disinterest. When he touches her arm with practiced casualness, she removes his hand without breaking conversational rhythm. When he leans close to whisper something presumably intimate, she steps back and speaks at normal volume. "She is magnificent," Isla murmurs. "She is unavailable," Mara corrects, which Jaxon will learn shortly. The evening unfolds with the carefully orchestrated chaos of successful parties. People circulate, conversations form and dissolve, allegiances shift with the subtle politics that govern social spaces. Isla moves through it with new awareness, noting who performs and who presents, who speaks to be heard and who speaks to be seen speaking. She finds Serena in a quiet corner, discussing contemporary art with two residents Isla does not know well. The curator includes her in the conversation seamlessly, neither highlighting nor ignoring her arrival. Isla contributes thoughtfully, offering opinions she actually holds rather than ones she thinks might impress. As night deepens, Victor Van Saren takes the small stage area typically used for live music. He holds a microphone with the ease of someone accustomed to public speaking, waiting for conversation to quiet before beginning. "Thank you all for coming tonight," he says, his voice carrying across the garden. "These gatherings are my favorite Aurora Heights tradition. A chance to remember that we are not just residents sharing a building, but a community sharing space and occasionally experiences." Polite applause follows. Isla notices Mara's expression anticipatory, as if she knows what is coming. "Tonight, I want to acknowledge something we typically ignore," Victor continues. "This building trades in discretion. Privacy is part of what we sell, what we promise residents. But discretion sometimes becomes a cover for silence, and silence can enable behavior we should not tolerate." The crowd shifts uncomfortably. This is not the usual light speech about building amenities and upcoming improvements. Recently, one of our residents experienced a public humiliation in what should have been a private space. People watched. People talked. People turned someone else's pain into entertainment. Victor's eyes scanned the crowd, holding attention through sheer force of personality. "I watched too. I did nothing to stop it. That was a failure of community, and I want to acknowledge it." Isla's heart pounds. She did not expect this, did not ask for public vindication or acknowledgement. Part of her wants to disappear, but another part, the part that has been growing stronger through weeks of self-examination, stands steady. "Aurora Heights is supposed to be a sanctuary," Victor continues. "A place where successful people can live without constant scrutiny. We promise that here you can be yourself. But that promise is meaningless if we punish people for vulnerability, if we turn private moments into public spectacle." He pauses, letting his words settle. "I am not naming names. Everyone here knows the incident I am referencing. What I am saying is this: we can do better. We can be a community that protects rather than exposes. We can choose discretion that serves dignity rather than silence that enables cruelty." The speech ends without clear conclusion. Victor simply setting down the microphone and stepping off the stage. The crowd remains silent for a long moment, processing what they have heard. Then, quietly, someone begins to clap. The applause builds slowly, spreading through the garden until it fills the space. Isla feels her eyes burn with unexpected tears. Not because Victor saved her or fixed anything, but because he used his considerable power to shift the narrative, to suggest that the watching crowd bore responsibility they had not acknowledged. Mara squeezes her hand gently. "Still glad you came." "Yes," Isla says, "though I am not sure I understand why he did that. Because even entitled heirs sometimes grow a conscience," Mara suggests. Or because he recognized that the culture of this building was becoming toxic and decided to use his influence differently. Later in the evening, Victor finds Isla on one of the garden's quieter terraces. She has retreated from the main party, needing space to process the unexpected public support. "I hope that was not unwelcome," he says, joining her at the railing. "I do not know what it was," Isla admits. "Kind, I think. Also presumptuous. You did not ask if I wanted to be referenced publicly." "You are right. I should have asked." Victor leans against the railing, his usual confidence muted. "I wanted to do something meaningful, but I may have just satisfied my own need to be seen doing something meaningful." The honest self-assessment surprises Isla. "Why does it matter to you? You barely know me." "Because I have been Jaxon," Victor says quietly. "Not in the specifics, but in the general pattern. Treating people as interchangeable, mistaking attention for affection, assuming charm excuses carelessness. I have hurt people through sheer thoughtlessness. Your situation made me see that more clearly than I wanted to. So your speech was about your own guilt, partially, also about trying to build something better here. This building, this community, it could be a place where people support each other instead of consuming each other's dramas. That requires someone with power to use that power differently." Isla considers his words. Power used differently is still power. You decided what the community needed without asking the community. Fair criticism. Victor's smile acknowledges the point. "I am learning that good intentions do not erase the impact of unilateral decisions. I should have talked to you first." "You should have," Isla agrees. "But I appreciate what you tried to do, even if the execution was flawed." They stand in companionable silence, watching the city lights. The party continues behind them, laughter and conversation creating a pleasant background hum. "For what it is worth," Victor says eventually, "you have changed since the pool incident. You carry yourself differently, more settled in your own skin. I am trying to figure out who I am when I am not performing for an audience. Let me know when you discover the secret." "I have been performing my entire life and would not recognize authenticity if it introduced itself." The admission surprises Isla into laughter. "At least you are honest about it." "Honesty is easy when you have nothing to lose," Victor says. "You were honest when it cost you comfort and social capital. That is considerably more impressive. After Victor returns to the party, Isla remains on the terrace, letting the night air cool her flushed cheeks. The evening has been overwhelming in unexpected ways. Public acknowledgement of her pain, validation she did not ask for, but finds she needed, recognition that the poolside incident affected more than just herself. Serena joins her as the party begins to wind down. "How are you feeling?" "Complicated," Isla admits. "Grateful and angry and relieved and resentful, all at the same time." "That sounds about right." Serena hands her a glass of water. Big public gestures are always complicated. They serve the person making them as much as the person they are ostensibly helping. Victor said something similar. Victor is learning. Slowly, imperfectly, but learning. The question is whether you feel better or worse after his speech. Isla considers honestly. Better, I think. Not because he fixed anything, but because he named something that needed numbing. The watching was worse than the confrontation in some ways, being entertainment for people who could have chosen to look away. Having him acknowledge that felt like permission to be angry about it. "You never needed permission for your anger," Serena says gently. "But I understand why validation helps." The last guests depart as midnight approaches. Isla helps Mara collect abandoned wine glasses, the two of them working in comfortable silence. The rooftop garden looks beautiful in disarray, evidence of life lived rather than staged. "Thank you for convincing me to come," Isla says. "Thank you for being someone worth convincing." Mara pauses in her collecting. "You know you have friends now, right? Not just social acquaintances or networking connections, but actual friends who care about you beyond what you can do for them." The observation brings fresh tears to Isla's eyes. She blinks them back, smiling. "I am starting to realize that. Good, because we are keeping you. No returns, no exchanges." Isla returns to her apartment as the tower settles into its late-night quiet. The city glows beneath her windows, beautiful and indifferent. Tomorrow, people will talk about Victor's speech. Some will applaud his leadership. Others will criticize his presumption. The Poolside Scandal will be revisited, reshaped, incorporated into new narratives. But Isla finds she cares less about their stories than her own. Let them talk. Let them speculate. Let them craft whatever narrative serves their entertainment. She is too busy discovering who she is when the performance ends to worry about their interpretation. Chapter 7. 3 months after the poolside incident, Isla Monroe sits in the observation deck on floor 58, watching autumn rain blur the city into impressionist abstraction. She comes here less frequently now, no longer needing regular escape from her own life. But the space remains a sanctuary, a place to think without performance. Her phone buzzes with a text from Sophie. "How is Operation Authentic Self going?" Isla smiles. Since Sophie's surprise visit, They have maintained regular contact, checking in on each other's progress toward lives that feel genuinely constructed armors rather than borrowed from someone else. The particulations. She types back, "Affiliation, too complicated but less exhausting. I figured out I hate brunch, not sacrifice. Brunch, Sophie lies. Immediately. This is huge. When Isla's brunch is like a personality for some people, ending with no, they mind. I have been forcing down over so much of her for years because Sunday brunch is what you do in social circles. Turns out, I determine late serves you have lunch. Track. This isn't foreign growth. I'm proud of you. Verifying. The exchange is light, but it represents something. Hands her a small. Isla has spent months cataloging her actual preferences against her performed ones, discovering a self that differs from the pleasant socialite she presented to the world. She is more introverted than she pretended, more interested in depth than breadth. Quiet content with quiet than ever admitted. Isla, some temporary art have not survived her honesty. People who valued her agreeableness find her opinions off-putting. Me to come. Social circles that appreciated her flexibility resent her boundaries. The loss stings less than she expected. Quantity of connection has given way to quality, and Isla finds herself with fewer but more genuine relationships. Mara has become a true friend, their connection deepening beyond the initial crisis that brought them together. They meet weekly, sometimes for drinks, sometimes just for conversation. Mara's bold certainty balances Isla's careful consideration, while Isla's emotional intelligence complements Mara's strategic thinking. Serena remains a steady presence, offering perspective without pressure. The curator has taught Isla to approach her own life as she would a collection, choosing what to display, what to store, what to release entirely, turning that attention not every experience course, heapness. Some things can be used for life archived. They're against her performed without requiring constant visibility. Even Victor has become an unexpected ally. They meet occasionally for coffee, comparing notes on their respective attempts at growth. Victor's journey is messier than Isla's, his setbacks more dramatic, his progress more inconsistent. But he is genuinely trying to become someone less entitled and more conscious, and Isla respects the effort even when results are mixed. Jaxon she has not spoken to since the residents' gathering. She sees him occasionally in the building, always with someone new, his pattern apparently unchanged. The sight no longer wounds her. If anything, she feels a distant pity for the connections he fails to make, the depth he refuses to risk. The observation deck door opens, admitting a woman Isla does not immediately recognize. Then memory supplies context. Naomi Keats, the journalist who moved into the building several months ago. They have exchanged polite greetings in passing, but never conversed beyond pleasantries. "I'm sorry," Naomi says. "I didn't realize anyone was here. I can come back." "It's fine," Isla assures her. "There's plenty of space." Naomi enters cautiously, settling in a chair several feet away. She has a laptop and appears to be working, her focus intense. Isla returns her attention to the rain, content to share the space without requiring interaction. After 20 minutes of silence, Naomi speaks. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. How did you handle it?" "The public scrutiny after the pool incident." The question surprises Isla. "Why do you ask?" Naomi hesitates, clearly debating how much to share. "I'm working on a story about Aurora Heights, about the culture here, the way privacy and scrutiny coexist, the power dynamics between residents. Your situation is relevant, but I wanted to ask directly rather than relying on second-hand accounts. You're writing about me, about the environment that made what happened to you possible," Naomi corrects. "You're an example, not the subject. But I understand if you'd rather I not include your situation." Isla considers the request. Months ago, the thought of her humiliation being documented, analyzed, published would have horrified her. Now she finds it almost abstract, as if it happened to someone else. "What would you say about it?" she asks. "That Aurora Heights promotes a culture where residents' private pain becomes public entertainment. That discretion and voyeurism are not opposites. They coexist here, creating an environment where people's worst moments are witnessed by neighbors who have the power to look away, but choose not to. That the building's promise of sanctuary is compromised by its residents' hunger for drama. The analysis is sharp, accurate in ways that make Isla uncomfortable. That's harsh. Is it wrong? No, Isla admits. It's not wrong. It's just painful to hear articulated. Naomi nods. I can leave your specific situation out if you prefer. The pattern exists beyond your individual experience. Will you let me read what you write before you publish it? I can do that. They return to silence, Isla processing the unexpected request. Being part of a public narrative about Aurora Heights feels different than being subject to gossip. One transforms her experience into evidence, the other into entertainment. You can include it, Isla says finally, as long as you're accurate about what happened and why it mattered. I will be. Naomi's expression softens slightly. For what it's worth, I think how you handled the aftermath was remarkable. A lot of people would have left the building or retreated completely. You stayed and forced the community to confront what they did. I forced myself to confront what I did, Isla corrects. The community was secondary. That's even better. Mind if I quote that? Isla laughs. Sure, quote away. When Naomi leaves an hour later, Isla remains in the observation deck, thinking about narratives and control. She cannot determine how people interpret her story, but she can insist on accuracy, on complexity, on refusing to be reduced to simple categories of victim or victor. That evening, she has dinner with Mara and Serena at a restaurant outside Aurora Heights. They chose the location deliberately, a neighborhood place where no one knows them, where they are simply three women sharing a meal rather than residence performing status. I saw Naomi Keats today, Isla mentions. She's writing something about the building. Mara's expression sharpens with interest. What kind of something? An analysis of the culture. How privacy and scrutiny coexist. How power operates. How people's pain becomes entertainment. That should make Victor nervous, Mara observes. The Van Sarens have worked hard to maintain Aurora Heights' reputation as a sanctuary for the elite. Maybe being nervous would be good for them, Serena suggests. The building has operated without real accountability for years. Some scrutiny might force necessary changes, or it might just make them more careful about what becomes visible, Isla says. Power adapts. It doesn't usually surrender. The conversation shifts to other topics. Mara's upcoming fashion show, Serena's new exhibition, Isla's tentative plan to volunteer with an arts education program. They are building lives that extend beyond Aurora Heights, beyond the tower's particular social dynamics. As they prepare to leave, Mara raises her glass. To surviving our own stories, to writing new ones, Serena adds. To knowing the difference, Isla finishes. They drink together. 3 women who found each other through crisis and chose to build something beyond it. Epilogue. 6 months after the Poolside Scandal, Aurora Heights hosts its spring gala. The event is legendary among the city's social elite, an evening of excessive elegance, carefully curated guest lists, and opportunity to witness how the extraordinarily wealthy entertain themselves. Isla Monroe arrives alone, which surprises no one who has observed her transformation. She wears a dress she actually loves, deep emerald silk that makes her feel beautiful without trying too hard. Her hair is styled simply, her jewelry minimal. She looks like herself, whoever that is becoming. The pool area has been transformed into something from a dream: floating flowers, underwater lighting, the city providing a glittering backdrop. Music drifts across the water, live musicians positioned on a small stage. It is exactly the kind of event Isla used to live for, back when she measured her worth by the quality of parties she attended. Now she feels detached from it, observing rather than participating. The performance no longer calls to her the way it once did. Mara finds her near the pool's edge. You came. I considered not coming. But I decided I didn't want to give this place the power to keep me away from something I might enjoy. And are you enjoying it? Isla considers honestly. I'm appreciating it. The beauty, the effort, the spectacle. But I don't need it the way I used to. It's just a party, not a validation of my existence. That's growth. Mara links arms with her. Come on. Serena saved us good seats for the performance. The evening unfolds with elaborate beauty, musicians, dancers. A carefully choreographed show that probably cost more than most people earn in a year. Isla watches with genuine appreciation, enjoying the artistry without needing to prove she belongs in the audience. she spots Jaxon across the pool, laughing with a group of admirers. He looks the same, charming, attractive, entirely unchanged by anything that has happened. Isla feels nothing when she sees him, which surprises her. Not residual hurt, not satisfaction at her own growth, just nothing. He has become irrelevant to her story. Victor appears at her side during intermission. "You look happy." "I look content," Isla corrects. Happiness is overrated. Contentment is undervalued. Philosopher Isla, "I like this version." "This version is the only version," Isla says. "The others were drafts." Near the end of the evening, something unexpected happens. Catherine Winters, the venture capitalist who so effectively managed Jaxon months ago, approaches their table. Isla has not spoken to her beyond brief greetings, but Mara knows her professionally. "May I join you?" Catherine asks. "Please," Serena says, gesturing to an empty chair. Catherine settles in with easy grace. "I wanted to tell you something, Isla. Your handling of that pool situation months ago influenced some decisions I made about my own life. Watching you refuse to hide or apologize or perform recovery helped me recognize my own patterns of performance." The confession surprises Isla. "I didn't handle it particularly well." "You handled it humanly. Imperfectly, honestly, bravely. That's better than handling it well." Catherine smiles. "I've spent my career performing invulnerability, never showing weakness, never admitting hurt, treating relationships as strategic partnerships rather than emotional connections. Seeing you be publicly vulnerable and survive it made me reconsider whether my armor was actually protecting me or just isolating me." "What did you decide?" Isla asks. "That isolation disguised as strength was still isolation. I've started making changes. Small ones, but meaningful." Catherine pauses. "I wanted to thank you. You probably don't realize how many people you've influenced just by being honest about your process." After Catherine returns to her own table, Isla sits in silence, processing the unexpected gratitude. "You're inspirational now," Mara teases. "How does it feel?" "Surreal. I was just surviving. I didn't realize anyone was watching in a productive way." "People are always watching in Aurora Heights," Serena observes. "The question is what they do with what they see. Some people consume others' experiences as entertainment. Others recognize something of themselves and choose to grow. You can't control which response you get." As the gala winds down, Isla finds herself alone at the pool's edge for a moment. The water is perfectly still, reflecting the night sky and the tower above. She thinks about the last time she was here, heartbroken and humiliated, convinced her pain was unique and her recovery impossible. She was wrong about both. Her pain was ordinary, the universal experience of caring more than she was cared for. Her recovery was inevitable time and self-knowledge healing wounds that felt permanent. The pool that witnessed her humiliation now reflects her transformation. Same water, same space, different woman looking into it. Penny for your thoughts. Victor appears beside her, holding 2 glasses of champagne. Just thinking about how much has changed, Isla says, accepting a glass she probably will not drink. For you or for the building? Both, me more than the building, but the building some too. Your speech at the last gathering started conversations. Naomi's article is going to continue them. This place is being forced to reckon with its own culture. Is that good? I think so. Necessary anyway. Isla looks at him. You've changed too. I'm trying, failing regularly, but trying. Victor stares at his champagne. I ended things with someone recently because I realized I was repeating old patterns, choosing someone based on how they looked on my arm rather than how they made me feel. It was the right decision, but it was hard. Being alone is harder than being with the wrong person. Being alone is necessary sometimes, Isla says. How else do you learn who you are when you're not performing for someone? Is that what you've been doing? Learning who you are alone. Trying to. I'm not there yet, but I'm closer than I was. They stand in companionable silence. 2 people who have witnessed each other's failures and attempts at growth. Not friends exactly, but allies in the shared project of becoming better than they were. As Isla prepares to leave, Elias, the concierge, intercepts her in the lobby. Miss Monroe, a moment. Of course. He hands her a small envelope, the paper thick and expensive. This arrived for you this evening. Hand-delivered. Isla opens the envelope to find a simple card. Thank you for your honesty about the Aurora Heights culture. The article publishes tomorrow. I think you'll find it accurately represents your experience while respecting your privacy. NK. Tomorrow, the article will appear. People will read about Aurora Heights, about the Poolside Scandal, about the culture that enables both luxury and cruelty. Isla's experience will become part of a public narrative, evidence in a larger argument about power, privacy, and community. She could feel anxious about it. She could worry about renewed attention, about the story being resurrected, about people judging her all over again. Instead, she feels curious. Not about how people will interpret her, but about what changes the article might inspire. If her humiliation can contribute to making Aurora Heights less toxic, less performative, less cruel to the people who live here, perhaps it serves a purpose beyond her individual healing. Isla returns to her apartment as the city settles into its late-night rhythm. She changes out of her elegant dress into comfortable clothes, makes tea she actually likes, settles onto her couch with a book she wants to read rather than one that will impress people. This is her life now. Not perfect, not fully formed, but genuinely hers. She makes mistakes, faces uncertainties, experiences loneliness and confusion and doubt. But she does it as herself, whoever that is becoming. The Poolside Scandal is no longer the defining moment of her life. It is simply one experience among many, painful, but not permanent, public, but not all-consuming. she survived it. She learned from it. She is building something beyond it. That is enough. In Aurora Heights, the pool on floor 40 sits empty in the darkness, water still and silent. Tomorrow it will fill again with residents seeking exercise or relaxation or escape. Some of them will remember the scandal. Others will have forgotten it entirely, replaced by newer dramas. But the pool itself remembers nothing. It is just water and tile and carefully engineered beauty, reflecting whatever is placed before it. The story is not in the pool. It is in the people who stand at its edge, deciding what they see when they look at their own reflections. And